Hey guys, hope you're all well. Right, back on the Norton again. So, side stand. It's gonna be a nice little challenge. This is actually. So the gentleman who owns the bike supplied a stand. It's a really, really nice stand. I'm not sure if I showed you it before actually, but it's going to be quite difficult to make work, as in take the stump that's on it at the moment to put this other one on. All the angles are wrong, the sizes are wrong, as in for the mounting point that's bolted to the engine and the frame on this bike. So I'm going to try something. I think I can make it work. So what we've got so far, this is what was on it, which I know works because I've had the bike on the floor on this stand, although we have no foot. What we've got on this lovely old stand here then, look at that. I absolutely love that thing, it's beautiful. Not quite sure what it's off, but I do like it. So what we've got at the end here, all that is wrong. And it's nowhere near big enough for the bracket that we've got on the bike. This point here, we'll get all this off in a moment, is quite wide. It's quite a chunk, as this one is quite small. You'll see better when we get it off. And then obviously it's way too long as well. The way that would sit on, everything's at the wrong angles. So I mean that would actually sit on the floor like so. Now I know I could shorten this and sort of twist it round and do, but this stand is also oval. So yeah, everything would go against me to make this stand work. With it being oval, if I was to turn that foot so it did sit correctly, we'd have a complete misshape down the stem of the stand. So what I'm going to attempt to do, I want to try and make this to start, well, not to start with, but as we go along on the job, I want to try and make this sort of look a bit more old, a bit more cast, because I think this is just fabricated. That looks like a bit of really, really thick wall tube and quite modern, if you know what I mean. As this one, it is a casting. So what I'm going to do is get this off. We're going to sort of fettle it up a bit and try and get it to look like a casting. Then I'm going to grind all this down, get this tapered a bit more, get the foot off this one and make it fit that one. I think that'll work. It's just going to be, it probably sounds like a bit of a, what's he doing it like that for? That sounds way too long-winded. But it's actually going to be the easiest and simplest way to do it. Yes, it's going to take a bit of time, but we will end up with a short stumpy stand that will look like this one. Because obviously we're using that lovely old foot. So that's the challenge for today. So let's get that stand off and crack on, see what we can do. Right. We have not got a lot to work with. Now you can start to see the difference that we have. We look at this end bit, which is obviously correct for the bracket that's on the bike, and what we had on the supplied stand. That nearly fits inside that one. So yeah, and as you can see, this is fabricated. This is welded round here, probably in a pin on the inside there. As you can see, the wall thickness is extremely thick. So we have got a decent amount of material to mess with, but now the pin, I may have to use a different stand spring because that pin's not going to be able to be there, because this, now because I know this stand works at that length, this foot's obviously got to be there, and that's going to put that pin in our way. So I'm going to get rid of that to start with. I think what we'll do is basically get this on to start with. If I can sort of do a little temporary fix to it and then put it back on the bike and double check that the bike does stand up with all that on. I think we'll go there first, and then we can set about making this look cast. That's the challenge. Right, we'll start by ripping this down. I've just basically put that in the vise. It just broke straight off. Yeah, I'm going to try and reduce this taper to start with. I'll do it by doing flats, and then after that we'll round it up sort of thing, but I just want to tear it down to start with. Right then, basically gonna chop that off and then try and drill it out. Yeah, it should drill quite easily actually. Hopefully. Let's just go for it. Right, I'm just drilling down the stand now. The bracket that held the spring passes through, and I want to get it out because I'm going to try and put a bit of bar down this as well. So I'm just going to try and drill it out. There we go, that's that gone. My first drop of the day. Oh, there we go. All clear. Okay then, so far we have the little stump of a stand, and we have that lovely little foot. That now slides over there like so. We've got a little bit of misalignment. I'm not bothered about that. I will blend all this in, and the idea is obviously to make it look all cast. So what I need to do now, I think, is pop this back on the bike and see if this is all okay, because we need to obviously get this where it's best, where it sits on the floor and where it parks when the stand's up, so it's not hitting the frame or anything like that. So that's what we'll do next. We'll put it on the bike and see how it looks. Right. So, which way does that go? Like that. I'm guessing. Where's the bolt? Where's the bolt? Yeah, I'm going to have to drop the bike off the rear stand and see how this sits. Whether we got to try and put a bit of a crank in this for this to be on the floor as best we can. We're just going to have to get sort of an happy medium of how it parks and how it sits on the floor. But if that's like that, let's have a look. Oh, that works out quite nice up there, actually. That's not bad. Yeah. What I think I'll do is, like I say, drop the bike off the rear stand, rest it on this stand, and we'll mark it where it best sits on the floor. And then if, like I say, we have to do a bit of a bend in there, that's not a problem. I want to get all that sorted before we start welding it all up and then dressing it all up to make the entire thing look cast. So let's just pop the bike off the rear stand. Right, so far everything is completely wrong. It's all going against us at the minute with how it wants to sit. As you can see, that's no good. It may even be a case where it's going to have to be even shorter, because at that, the bike ain't got much of a lean on you. You won't be able to tell that well, but obviously we need to get that way a bit and down. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to continue messing about till we've got something right. So yeah, I'm gonna have to put a bend in it. So anyway, it's going to work. The bike is extremely low, so we ain't going to have much of a stand there. It's going to probably end up being about that long. But don't matter, as long as it works and holds the bike up, that's all that matters. And we've got that foot on there. Right, continue messing about. Right, off and in the vise. I'm going to heat it up around there and get a bit of a bend in there, and then we'll try it again. Plan B, because plan A has failed miserably. Yeah, that shouldn't have done that. Right. I'm gonna have to rethink that. Not giving up. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win in the end. Yeah. Even with the heat, it didn't want to bend, and it decided to basically tear. Ayo. Right. Certainly not making up excuses, but having a little think about it, that might be in my favour a tiny bit, because I can actually place the foot at the correct angle, and then we'll put a bar all the way up straight through the middle and weld it all in. I'm going to let that cool down while I'll have a look. Right, plan B is in full swing. So I have been having a right mess about with this thing, and I think I've got a solution. So I've had it on the bike, off the bike, on the bike, and so on and so on. Anyway, it still doesn't look much at the minute, but I think this is going to be absolutely fine and strong. Don't worry, we're not leaving it like that. As you can see, we have a bolt in there, a great big 12mm bolt. This is drilled and tapped That's basically, I've screwed the bolt in and put a bend on it. I've now got to chop this off, and this will obviously slide up there and hopefully sit flat on the floor. I've now got the bike on a jack because it was getting a little bit too much for me on my own. Keep lifting it off that rear stand while it's on the bench, so I can go up and down with the jack now. I'm just waiting for that to go cold. In fact, no, I'll chop it off in a second actually, and then we'll wait for it to go cold. I don't want to quench it because that can cause you all sorts of problems with materials if you don't quite know what they are. I'm just going to let it go cold and then put it back on the bike with the foot slid up the bolt and see how we're looking. It is the shortest, I think, yeah, it's got to be the shortest stand I have ever made. It really is. But as long as it works, that's all that matters. And if this works and the angle's right, I'll get it welded up. Now we've got that bolt running through the middle of the stand, it's going to be more than strong enough. I just want to get it welded up and start dressing it up so it looks cast. That would be nice, but I think this is going to work. Right, I have cut that off. I know it's all looking very terrible at the moment. I understand that, but it'll be okay when I finish with it. Guess how small that thing is. What have I got that you can relate to? I can put by that stand. A phone. Yeah. It's tiny. Right. Can I touch that yet? It's still a bit warm. As soon as it cools down, we'll get it on the bike. Oh, that's looking like we're in a rare chance. Yes, and it parks up nice. If we can get it to stand up nice with it there, that would be fantastic. Right, I'm just going to lower the jack down and see how it stands on it. Right, I think we won. That is looking okay. We can't really do much else, to be honest. Yeah, it parks up okay as well. So with this now we know we've got obviously a bolt running through there, good bit of steel. We can weld all this gap up. I can weld all that from underneath. So basically the foot, I suppose you could say the foot's sort of cosmetic. It's everything's on that bolt that we've drilled and tapped and screwed into the main part of the stand. It's certainly not going to break anyway, I know that for a fact, so which is the main thing. But yeah, I think while it's there now, I'm going to, in fact, let's lift it off there. Yeah, that's wedged itself in. I'll take it off the bike and start welding that up. I'm happy with that now. For a simple stand, that's took some rot messing about. Mind you, it didn't go to plan the first time, so anyway, let's get it back off and start welding it up. Right, just got a little eyelet now. Just roughed out, sort of going to resemble what was on the previous stand. we're done, I hope. Whew, that took some doing. Sometimes the simplest jobs, well, the jobs that you think may be simple, turn out to be the hardest or the longest. But anyway, it worked out in the end. So we got that old-fashioned cast look going on. Obviously we've had to do it really short because of the height of the bike. There we go. Right, now to try it on. There we go, it's on. All working as it should. Well, that turned out to be a bit of a challenge. Just a side stand. That's the way it goes sometimes. I'm glad that one's done. Anyway, it's absolutely baking in here today. So I think I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to jump in the shower and freshen up. Whew. Yeah, that'll do. I'm pleased with it though. At least it's finished. So next on this, we have the bobbins for the rear, which I'm going to do as the last job, and the tank fuel cap, which I think is going to be a little challenge as well. I've had a brief look at that. Yeah, that's not straightforward either, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. So that'll be in one of the next videos. That'll do me. Cold shower time. Cheers for watching, guys. Take care.